Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio and welcome to week 33 of the Stash Buster block series. Our block this week is called Signature Friendship Block, and this is one that has a space that you can have your friends sign and give it to somebody who is maybe moving away, or use it as a wedding quilt or a birthday quilt. This one is pretty good for beginners. You have some flying geese units, and we're going to do this is kind of like a square and a square block, only we're just using the two opposite corners to make that unit. So this is a 9 patch. This one is 8 inches square, but you can make this one into a 12-inch block really easily. So I hope you will stay tuned, and I'll show you how to make this block. Here are the fabrics that you're going to need for your signature friendship block. For your background, you need one piece that is 4.5 inches square, and you'll need 8 pieces that are 2.5 inches square. For your medium fabric, you need 4 pieces that are 2.5 by 4.5 inches, and you need 6 pieces of your dark that are 2.5 inches square. So the first thing we're going to do is to make this unit here, and to do that we need to take 2 of the dark squares and draw a diagonal line on the back side of them. Now you can use a pencil, you can use a pen. With it being a dark fabric, if you choose this color combination of using this as your dark fabric, you need something that's going to show up. So like with a pencil, I just have to go over it a couple of times so I can see it. Now I can see that, but it's still pretty light. And the back of this fabric is kind of mottled. It's not completely solid, so that helps. You could also use a chalk pencil, a white chalk pencil, if that will help. So I have those dark lines. Now on your background 2.5 inches square, you're also going to need to draw a diagonal line on the back side. So we'll do the same thing. And this is just a number 2 pencil. It's not anything special. And this one I can see a lot easier than that one. But you need to do that on all of your 2.5 inch background squares. So with these dark squares, I'm going to take the 4.5 inch background square. I'm going to press that a little bit. It's got a little bit of a wrinkle in it. And then you're going to sew these on opposite corners like this, and you want your diagonal line to go from side to side, not corner to corner. You want them to go from side to side of your white square. So I'm going to start with one side first, and I'm going to stitch right on that line that I drew. So just line up your raw edges and then stitch right along that line. I'm going to go ahead and trim my threads and then turn it to the opposite corner and do the same thing, making sure the line that I've drawn is going from one side to the other side instead of corner to corner. And then we will stitch right along there. Trim my threads, and now I need to trim the outer corners, and I'm just going to use my scissors and just trim off the outer triangle here. Leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I have this kind of a shape, and then when I open it up I will have a square again. So I'm going to take this to my pressing surface and press this open. So here is my square, and now I want to make my flying geese units. So I'm going to take my 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch rectangles and my 2.5 inch white squares and line those up, and I'm going to go from, the line will go from one corner to the next, and then I'm going to sew right on that line. And I'll move that one out of the way. They're still connected, but I'm going to take the next square and do the same thing. So I'm going to do one side of each one of these, and then I will flip them and then do the other side. Now I can cut these apart. And then once again, I'm going to trim off this outer triangle. So I'm going to take my scissors and just trim that off. So I'll do that with all 4 of them. And you can save these triangles to make half square triangles out of them, or use them for little bits of applique or whatever you want. So now I have these and I need to press these open. So I'm going to do that off camera here just to save a little time. And so when you press them open, this is what the unit will look like. So I'm going to do this to all of 4 units and then sew the other side. Okay, now I'm going to take the other 2.5-inch square and line up my raw edges again, and now I'm going to stitch from the center to the outer lower corner here. So I'm going to get that all lined up. There we go. Now, if you are really good at eyeballing a straight line, you don't necessarily need to draw that line. Like I don't have that drawn on these pieces here. My machine does not pull to one side, so I can line this up pretty well. But if you want to be really precise and really accurate, then you'll probably want to draw that line on there yourself. Now cut them apart and then cut off those triangles. Cut off any loose threads. So I have a few here. Okay, now I can cut off the outer triangle. All right, now press these open. Okay, now I have all 4 of my flying geese units. Now all I have to do is lay this block out and then sew it together. Okay, I'm going to start with the center unit and lay that in place. And then we're going to put a dark square and a flying geese unit with the darker fabric towards the center square. And then another 2.5-inch dark square. And then this row gets flying geese units on both sides. And then we're just going to repeat this row, just flipping the orientation of that flying geese, so that we have all of the geese parts of the flying geese facing towards the center of the block. So here's our block layout, and now I'm going to sew rows and then sew the rows together. So we're going to lay these 2 together and sew them. Now you can sew these with the flying geese on the top or with the corner square on the top. I want to do the corner square so my seam and the flying geese won't try and flip on me. And I'm just going to sew these 1 row at a time. And you use whatever method works for you. And I'm going to flip this one over and then sew this too. threads. And here is row 1. So let's work on row 2. This is one with the flying geese units. And I'm going to put the flying geese on the, I think I put that one on the top. And just make sure my bottom seam is facing towards me. And do one more flying geese. Okay, here is row 2. And I will do row 3, which is just the mirror image of row 1. And this one I'm going to put flying geese on the top. The thread I'm using is a 50 weight thread, so it's very thin. And it's actually a spool that I use for long arm quilting when I'm doing heirloom work. So I have it on a thread cone. Well, it's a cone of thread, so I have it on a thread cone holder. Let me show you. Here it is. This is Superior's So Fine thread, and it's a color 401, which is a white. It's a soft white color, and I have it on this thread cone thing here. Okay, here is row 3. Now I'm going to press and then sew all these rows together. Okay, I am going to press this row with the seams out, away from the flying geese and towards the dark corner squares. So for the center row, I'm going to press the seams completely in the opposite direction. And this one, row 3, I'm going to press the same way as row 1. And I do have my steam on, as you probably just saw, but you don't need to. Okay, now I'm ready to sew all the rows together, and we have some points to match, and what we're needing to match is this point here with these 2 points here. So we're matching the bases of the flying geese units. So let's put those together and kind of match them up by nesting those seams. And I'm going to put my pin right through the top of the point here where the lines of stitching are crossing. That makes the point. So that comes through on this side. And then I want to insert the pin in the point here. Okay, and now I'm going to nest those seams together again and keep my pin straight as I can. And then I'm going to pin it together like that. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. And there we go. Had a stray thread there. Okay, right through the point on that side, through the point on this side, and line the seams up so they're nested, and then pin it in place. Okay, now we're going to stitch with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and see if this comes out right. And just make sure everything is lined up, raw edges, and stitch. Now when I get to where these stitches cross, I'm going to slow down a little bit, and I want to watch that because I want to go just to the right side of the area where those two lines cross. And do the same here. Okay, not too bad. Here we go. This one is really good. This one over here is off a little bit, but not too bad. So I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom row. Now it can be really hard to get these perfect, so don't feel bad if you can't get them perfect. If you think about it, not many people are going to be looking that close at your piecing to see if you have everything lined up. And if you're off just a fraction of an inch, you know, it's up to you whether you want to rip that out and try again. For me, it's not worth the trouble, but that's me. And it's not a quilt that I'm putting in a show. If it's a quilt I am putting in a show, then I would probably redo it. But this one I am not. These are just Stash Buster blocks, and they will be put in a quilt, but it's more than likely not one that's going to go into a quilt show. So, and then you can always fix those later if you want to anyway. I'm just watching all my seams so they lay flat. Sometimes my presser foot wants to flip them up, and so I'm watching that real carefully. Let's see how this side went. This one's pretty good too. So there we go. So now we need to press the rows. Okay, I'm going to just press these seams out. You can press them towards the center if you want. On my sample block, I press those out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because that seems to be the way it wants to go anyway. So let's just press that out. Now if you make a quilt with these and you have your setting just in a straight set where your blocks are just one right next to the other, you may want to press half of your blocks towards the outside and of the other half in to help them nest together better. But here we go. This is the block we just completed, and then here's the sample block. So I'm going to show you what 4 of these set together will look like. Okay, here are 4 of the signature friendship blocks, and I have them all oriented in the same direction as far as the only thing different is the centerpiece. We've got the triangles just on 2 sides. So we've got the blues going this way and the white is all going this direction here. So that's the only thing that is different, but you can like alternate them like this. The overall look is the same as far as the fabric, other than, you know, the centers here. And this is a signature block, and what people would do would be to sign their name. in this space here. So if you want your signatures going in different directions, you would alternate your blocks as far as the way this piece is oriented. If you want them all going the same direction, then you turn them like this. And so that all of the people's names would be all in the same direction. So that is the signature friendship block. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video on the signature friendship block, and I hope you'll give it a try. If you like this video, please click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notification bell so that you'll be notified when the next video comes up. And don't forget to share the video with your quilting friends. And in the meantime, I hope you are all staying safe and staying healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.